Hi, everybody. We are here at WordCamp US. We're in the Creators Studio, and I'm joined by some amazing folks. And we had this idea to have, because this conference has got a lot of AI stuff going on. So what we've done is we've asked AI to generate some questions for us as developer advocates about the future of WordPress and AI. And so we're going to just read them, and they're going to sound hilarious coming out of my mouth, but we're going to read them, and then we're all going to answer them, and we'll see where this takes us. But before we do that, I'm going to get the folks to introduce themselves.
Yeah, my name is Birgit. I'm the curator of Gutenberg Times and host of the Gutenberg changelog, and I'm a developer advocate for WordPress and work for Automatic.
Hey, I'm Jonathan, and I'm very tired. I work with Birgit as a developer advocate. In fact, I work with Birgit and Ryan, and Brian. Yeah, he's in a different team, but I work with him too. And I'm from Cape Town in South Africa, so I have that weird South African, Australian, New Zealand type accent.
My name is Brian Cords. I'm a developer advocate at WooCommerce, so I'm closely tied to this team, maybe a little bit of a different perspective, and I came up here from California, so I'm probably the least tired person here because I'm at least in my time zone.
The prompt was that he was a 25-year-old YouTuber who's speaking to a group of developer advocates about the future of WordPress and AI. So I'm just going to read what was output, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so the first question is, okay, real talk. Do you think WordPress is going to stay the go-to for building on the web, or are we slowly heading into, quote, legacy CMS territory?
I think the WordPress still is relevant, especially with the new editor that is now 8 years old, the Gutenberg editor, and then the new revamp of the admin section. It has a modern look, and it's actually built on modern web development ideas, like the block editor and the themes and the design systems and all that. So I think it's very relevant, and anybody could learn from it.
I think that it's really cool to see a lot of these newer things coming up where people are vibe coding their front ends and they're building these React landing pages. And it's kind of interesting to see a lot of them now are realizing, oh, wait, you kind of still need to manage your content the minute you get past a single static page or something. So you're seeing other tools do things like add block-based editing into their vibe code UIs, connect to databases, all that sort of stuff. And WordPress has everything out of the box that you need, user authentication, content modeling, all this sort of stuff already. So I think as people go through the experience, if they kind of graduate to needing like a true content management system that actually integrates with things, has everything off the shelf, I think they'll kind of make their way there. And I think it'll make sense.
Nothing to add to that.
That was a perfect answer.
What do you think?
What do I think? I think that it's going to be the go-to for a long time. I mean, 43% of the internet is no small amount, and even if people stopped contributing to it today, the long tail of that would still go on forever. But I think with what we're iterating on and what we're building, all the really cool stuff that the AI team is doing, and all that stuff, I don't see it ever going anywhere. I think there's an argument for maybe updating some of it's an old code base, right? If anyone's ever worked with an old code base, there are things that like nobody touches because it's too old. And that's not really what happens in WordPress, but there is definitely a case for like, let's get, some newer PHP practices. Let's get some newer technologies in there, but that doesn't mean we have to throw all the stuff that's out, all the stuff that's there now out to kind of do that. Like we were joking earlier about like, well, why didn't we just all like write it in Next.js? Like it's just not going to happen, I don't think.
So I do have something to add to that, and that is the fact that all of us here might remember a while ago there was this massive need for COBOL developers because all of the banking systems and all the finance systems are still running COBOL, and they were like asking people to come out of retirement, and they were doing free courses for college graduates to learn COBOL. So learn PHP, people, because say again?
Learn PHP deeply.
Deeply. There are websites out there that have been running WordPress for years and years and years and years, and they are massive sites like news sites, entertainment sites. They're not going to switch over tomorrow to some new thing. What they're running on is stable. It's rock solid. They're going to want to keep going. So when everybody has moved off of PHP and moved into whatever new framework of flavor of the day X, and they need to update their website, they're going to be looking for quote unquote legacy developers. So if you're coming out of college, if you're coming out of high school, you want to learn something cool, learn PHP, learn CSS, learn HTML, learn JavaScript, let's go.
Okay, so question number 2. With full site editing and blocks everywhere now, are we finally getting to the no-code dream, or are we just making things messier for devs and users alike?
ChatGPT coming in spicy this morning.
Yeah, I know.
I don't understand the making things messier argument. I don't get it. I hear it a lot. Oh, it's messier. I don't. It's it's more difficult for some people because we're trying to move towards more standardized code. If you look at the TypeScript stuff coming in, we're trying to build things that are more structurally well architectured, and some folks have been doing what I like to call sort of very flexible coding over the years, and that's great. Like, it's a great way to start, but eventually when you start scaling and when you want to start building something that is robust, you need to implement some good practices. So I don't understand the messiness. I'm of the opinion that it's the folks who struggle with the new structured way of doing things that feel that that's messy, and that's just my I don't get it.
Yeah, I guess I would add to that and say that what blocks are really providing is a consistency, and it's a way to basically have everyone on the same page, because WordPress is unique where you're building the front end of a website, but the key is that you're building a content management system and editor that needs to be very powerful to get whatever you want, but it also needs to be very flexible, and it needs to be very user-friendly and simple and point and click, and I just click here and I edit my block and it's all, the same. And I think we're seeing everybody get closer together. There's like kind of a clear idea of like, this is what a good block looks like. This is a good way to edit content. All the things that you might need are already included, like colors and typography. Nobody's has to write that anymore. It's one line that you add and you have those supports already. So I think it's getting to a place where now that enough people have experimented, we're like bringing it back to a more refined vision. And once you're kind of in the mindset of the block paradigm, everything else feels a little messy and chaotic, I feel like.
Yeah, I think that I underwrite anything that was said here before, but I had an example that was coming out of Gutenberg. There's this idea of block styles, so you can then register additional block styles for the button or for the horizontal line, and that was in Gutenberg for the beginning of time, so to speak. And only in 6.6 there was now, but what it never was able, what you as a no-coder was not able to, was edit those in the site editor. A theme developer was able to put it in a theme JSON and all that. So, but now there was an additional update there that the plugin, the function, had an additional you need to put an error in there and in a certain way, and then it actually shows up in the editor. And I find this remarkable. There's only a small step, and you give the user tremendous power and empower them to do their own design, their own. Of course, some people think that's messy. Yeah, so there are guardrails for that, So I think it's the paradigm shift. The developer decides what a user can do is now going to, okay, if you put it a certain way, then the block editor empowers the user to do the design outside the designer and the developer. And I think that's there's a lot of need for that, and that's actually an expectation from a content producer that they put in the design themselves.
I do think personally, like, at least on the development side, that like messy is a way of saying I don't have the same control that I used to have. Like I remember one of the first WordCamps that I did when we started at Automatic was at Porto, and I had a number of conversations around people who really hated the idea that they couldn't they could, but they didn't want to hand code like the single.html, right? Because they're so used to like hand coding the PHP files and writing every line of code and knowing exactly where the markup is and all that stuff. They hated the idea of like the editor doing that for you and then you copy and paste it. So I think like change is hard for one, right? And I think also like messy is in my opinion anyways, it feels like they're saying I don't have as much rigid control over what I'm doing, so that becomes messier in my mind.
A lot of people have really solid workflows. If you're at an agency, you have a large team, you have a workflow. I was talking to somebody in the vendor hall who was migrating from like a page builder workflow at their agency to a full site editing workflow. And obviously it's a time investment. You know, they have to relearn, they have to figure out what works, what doesn't and stuff. But, you know, the end result was just faster load times, faster site building. A lot of things were, you know, being able to be used across sites a lot easier. I built it here. Now I can just take that block and use it on the next site, those sorts of things. So I think the opportunities are there, but I'm sympathetic to, you know, I've worked in an agency for a long time. I'm sympathetic to shifting a workflow. And as the best practices emerge and there's less questions on what those are, I think it'll be a lot easier for people to migrate.
Yeah, and it costs money to migrate. Like
Yes.
if you're exchanging money for code, someone's hiring you. They're not going to want to pay for you to figure out your workflow that doesn't really affect them. They just want to get their website or their app or whatever you're building. Yeah, cool.
And the other thing as well and this is one of the things I love about WordPress is even if the classic editor plugin just stopped being maintained, it would still work, and you could still go that route, and you could still use it that way if you really want to, you know. And if you're a developer and you're building sites for people, and let's say they deprecate the classic editor, well, I can show you in the code where it decides whether to load a classic template or a block template, and you can just filter that out yourself. And
Would you like to share your email so everyone can?
but I mean, I've done a video on like the execution flow of a front end request and of a, you know, and it's there. It's not going to go away. It's still open source. It's still filterable. You can still do that if you want to. So those folks who want to, you know, do it the old way, that's fine. WordPress allows you.
Okay, I'm unless you guys have anything else, I'm going to move on to the next question, which I find very funny. So, especially when I say it, do you think WordPress is still cool with younger devs? Like, are we doing enough to keep it fresh and not feel like 2005 in a trench coat?
Did you add the like in there or was that in there?
No, I'm reading these questions like note for note. Yeah.
ChatGPT must be from California too. So
Well, the prompt was a 25-year-old YouTuber.
like, we like to say that.
comma, are we doing enough to keep it fresh and not feel like 2005 in a trench coat?
Was it a comma or an M dash?
It was a comma. All right. Do you want to go first or?
Yeah, I think there's two things. One is we're talking about people who don't want change and they want things to stay the same. And then other people who want change, but it's coming too fast. And other people who want change and it's not coming fast enough. So there's always going to be some piece of that. But I, again, was in the vendor hall and a student from a local university was here and he was doing WordPress development at his college. And that was his assignment. And he had built a couple sites and he was doing the thing I think we all did at that age, which was, hey, I can start making some money on the weekends doing this. And it's a lot easier than building things by hand. And it was kind of refreshing to hear that like younger people were kind of still looking at this kind of like weird, very popular, but also very kooky CMS community and saying, oh, okay, there's no barrier to entry. I can just jump right in. And so if it's happening in the colleges, that makes me feel a little positive.
Yeah, I think there is a bit of a. I mean, if you look around at the attendees, like when we were doing the contributor day photo, I mean, I just kind of looked around. I didn't see many people younger than me, which is. I mean, but this is also like a flagship event. Contributor day it's. I think contributor day is an amazing thing that we do, but it can be extremely intimidating for somebody that's new to the community. So maybe that's not the best sort of like bar to measure by, but I mean, this stuff that's going on with the Campus Connect program and all that, like. I think we need to do some things, make some efforts to get sort of the younger, them young whippersnappers in here.
And I just want to touch on that. I think that is super important. I think that for a long time, we as a community have tended to we've sort of been riding this wave of WordPress, if you will, and not thinking about the next generation and going, hey, there's this cool thing, you guys. There was sort of a very there was a stage sort of early on in WordPress history where everybody was talking about it, everybody was sharing it, and it was meetups, and it was this and that. And then it kind of got to the state of being like this sort of, 18-year-old, and it was kind of like doing its own thing, and it kind of like, well, I don't want to talk to the kids anymore. I want to go off and have parties with my friends and build amazing websites for Taylor Swift and all that kind of stuff. And we kind of forgot the younger generation. And so it's great to see, as you said, Campus Connect. And I think the more we can do things like that, the more we can get into universities and just, I mean, I met somebody this week who graduated, university, college, whatever it is, a couple of years ago. and it was like a BSc degree, and so he did C++ or no PHP, no WordPress. But as you were saying, he got out of college, he started looking for ways to make money, and building websites on WordPress was the way he made money. So that's why he went and learned that. So college kids, start learning it now, and then you don't have to worry about figuring it out later, But it empowers so much.
Yeah, WordCamp Europe, I was at Contributor Day, and all of a sudden I had a group of people around me. They were in different ages, and it was the web team from CERN. CERN is a research institute in Geneva that actually invented the internet and now is working on amongst many things. They have about 2,000 websites or so, and they are just converting to WordPress. And the youngest guy there was a young fella, 25 years, I would think. He's the intern at CERN. So the next generation is actually influencing even the institutions. And he was absolutely fluent in React and wanted to know quite a few things that are combining it with external data and all that. So with that, I have so much hope for WordPress. Yeah, I can't even tell you that. Yeah, it was really enlightening.
Do you think we're doing enough to try to attract? Because there's so many younger people coming out of boot camps and things like that, and they're like, they know like JavaScript's their jam, right? And so like how do we bridge that gap? Like as developer advocates, right? Like how do we say, okay, you know probably JavaScript better than I do. How can I help you convert that into like working with WordPress? Like is there? I mean, we can solution all day, I'm sure, but like I guess it's just like showing the power of the platform and then helping to kind of connect those dots, maybe? I don't know.
I think it's more, and it's something we were in a conversation the other day about, TikTok, that kind of thing. I think it's just more just about meeting people where they are. And so that's something I think as developer advocates, we're starting with YouTube and that kind of thing, but going into places like TikTok and those kind of places. And our as oldies, our problem is understanding the value of TikTok, because I'm sure, I don't know, maybe none of you have had this experience, but I've had this experience where I will create some video content and it's a screen walkthrough of how to code something. And then somebody will say to me, I couldn't watch this on my mobile because it's landscape. I'm like, how are you watching code on your mobile? I don't understand. But that's the problem. I don't understand. So I need to accept that that's how it's done and find a way to make it work on that format and make it engaging and make it interesting and make it so that folks then want to go and try it out, I guess, on their laptop later. So that's I feel like going into the rest of 2025 and after WordCamp US, that's what we should be doing. Is how do we get into those platforms so that we're creating content? It doesn't have to be, over the top.
So we're going to start doing those TikTok dances.
I think we need to do that. Yeah, we need to start doing that. Like we need to do like a. I was watching my kid play Fortnite the other day. They've got this like emoji thing where they dance on screen. Maybe I need to do like a little dance before my videos and then do my live stream. I don't know.
I have an alternate approach because I'm not going to be. No one's going to want to see me on TikTok dancing. There's the other place I would point people to is you were mentioning JavaScript, and if you want, you go check out the PHP community on Twitter or other networks, and they love posting pictures of their fancy cars and stuff. And the PHP community has this definitely like mantra of like, we're here, we're just shipping things, and we're just building stuff. And we're under the hood of like everything, and it's paying our bills, and we're driving our Lambos. Like that's their kind of vibe. But like, it's not like there's just one market. Like there's a whole world of opportunity, and PHP is alive and well for the heavier stuff, and JavaScript's there for the interactive stuff. So I mean, you can find your niche in any way, but there's a huge need for PHP developers. There's a huge need for React developers in the WordPress ecosystem. Like the opportunities are there for sure.
So what's the WordPress equivalent of the Laravel Lambo? Like what do we have in WordPress? It starts with a W. We're gonna have to think of something.
I'm guessing it'd be like the WordPress Winnebago. Just like
yeah, we all know where it's right.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
Just traveling, yeah.
But like pimped,
Gold plated.
Yeah, TVs on the side.
Yeah. Just a giant gold like WordPress logo rotating on the top of it, like an ice cream truck. Next question: how close are we to WordPress being truly headless first? And is that actually what people want, or devs just trying to flex with React? or I guess insert framework name.
Why are we saying WordPress isn't headless first? I would argue that
I don't know. You should ask ChatGPT.
I would argue that with the REST API and with GraphQL, it is headless first. It doesn't mean everybody's necessarily using it, but it's available. It's possible.
I think the question was asked yesterday to Jemima Abu, who talked about PHP Developer Guide for React. And she said, well, if your client has a lot of money, and they want to pay you for the whole work that's already in WordPress, but now put it all in a headless website, go for it. Yeah, but other projects don't have that money. Yeah, and it's much easier to get up and running with WordPress without going through the headless stuff.
Yeah, there's really only a narrow use case where headless makes a lot of sense. But there are, like you said, because the endpoints are there and the infrastructure's there, I've worked on projects where their WordPress website was a normal website, but they had custom post types and they used WordPress VIP's plugin where it takes your blocks and just returns it as an endpoint with all the JSON. And then they build a React native mobile app and they manage it. They just log into WordPress. And so there's this little headless part of it that's connecting to the API, but the site is just the regular WordPress. And there's people I'll just tell you, you have no idea what people are doing with WordPress out there. It's kind of wild. People do the craziest things, but for most people that don't need to integrate multiple things and pull in really personalized data, just static WordPress that renders extremely fast with the interactivity API, which is just a light little kind of Preact style layer of interaction on the top of it, is probably going to end up being a lot easier to maintain and a lot less effort to get what most people actually want when they think what they're getting for headless.
Yeah, I think headless was a buzzword for a long time. I mean, I've been out of the agency realm for a while, but when I was working at 10up, that was like, oh yeah, everyone wants everyone wants headless, and it's like it's because the marketing manager on the client side was like, oh yeah, headless is the way to go. We got to do that, and then to your point, it's so complicated, it's so expensive. There's so many points of failure, and you're really just showing. Like the use case that you're talking about, where you have an app and like maybe you have like a proprietary CMS and a WordPress CMS, and that's all being pulled in. Like that makes sense because you can't do that in WordPress. So you have to connect those dots. But just to be like, I want it all in React, but it's all WordPress just seems a little like, I don't know. And I'm gonna get comments on this video. People are gonna come at me with it. But I don't know. I mean, there are entire companies out there that's their jam. They do headless, and I'm sure they do it great. Yeah, but they do that great, right? But I don't know. I think there's REST APIs, just like Jonathan said.
Yeah, and I wanted to off of Brian's start. What you talked about this VIP. WordPress VIP plugin. There's another one. It's called Remote Data Block. Yeah, and Thess Rubenstein did a great talk about it at the WordCamp US here. It actually connects you to an Airtable database, and you can pull in the data with the block binding into WordPress. So it's actually going the other route now. Yeah, it's kind of not integrating via headless other systems, but using WordPress to integrate other systems. Yeah, pull in the external data and then put it in the block. And so your editors don't have to switch systems, but whoever puts the data in Airtable or spreadsheets or whatever can still do that. And it's really real-time updating in your WordPress site.
I am not going to lie. I'm so glad that I stopped freelancing before remote data blocks came out, because my jam was building custom API integrations and putting that data into blocks. So that was like my niche. But that's the cool thing, is like this kind of stuff comes out of iteration and experimentation, and it just adds all these cool functionalities. It's amazing.
So this is the last of the first section of questions, which aren't really AI based, but anyways.
So the last of the questions where I don't really have answers.
Yeah. It is a bit spicy. If WordPress powers like 40% of the web, why does it feel like we're slow to innovate sometimes? What's holding us back?
I think because you run 43% of the web.
Yeah.
Yeah. So backwards compatibility is a huge selling point. I think it's very frustrating. a frustrating thing to deal with. But you know, anybody who worked in other CMSs where you didn't update, you migrated to the new version, and that's the fact that you don't have to do that. The fact that honestly, most sites can turn on auto updates, and you know, with reasonable backups and those sorts of things, can trust them. It's that's kind of, you know, the selling point. So things maybe aren't going to move as fast because you're not going to want to break a bunch of existing sites and yeah, millions,
all of the existing sites. Yeah.
But also at the same time, it's because it's this open source ecosystem. There's innovation happening in all these different places, and people are trying it out at product companies. People are innovating in other ways, and the best ideas will bubble up. And we're seeing that with the AI stuff now. There's Core is still building the foundation, but all these vendors here have their own that they're doing, and they're seeing what works, and then they're taking that information and they're going back to the core team and saying, okay, we already built it. This is what worked. This is what didn't. Now let's get it back on the same infrastructure, and it'll feed back into the cycle. But like that innovation just happens externally and comes back because that's what the community does. So there's not a single person. We're all waiting to innovate here. Yeah, it's the community does innovate.
Do you think we have a shiny things problem? Like specifically around core, like Gutenberg was the shiny thing, but there's many people that I've spoken with, and I know we've all spoken with these people that are like, well, why does the gallery block not have left-right buttons? Why like all these certain things? And I wonder if this question, and ChatGPT can only answer this, comes from something like that, where it feels like, yeah, we're doing great things, but maybe we're not kind of buttoning up the last 20% of it or something. I don't know.
I just wanted to use that African proverb, I think, is if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go long, go in a community. Don't go alone.
Absolutely.
And so that's actually our plugin environment. Yeah. So if you want to innovate, you do it in a plugin. Yeah. Put it up there on a website and see proof of concept, and then we talk about it and see if we can make it backwards compatible.
I think that one of the perceptions, or at least one of the reasons there's a perception that WordPress doesn't innovate, is because it happens at that plugin level. And so if you don't, as a plugin developer, if you don't get that exposure early on, then you don't become as popular in the general community. And I'm gonna make an opinionated comment here, and I apologize to anybody who disagrees with this, my American friends, but I think that the folks in the Western United States have more of a visibility. And so therefore, and I'm using Nick's plugin as an example, and this is not to knock Nick, but Nick, we all know Nick, he built that block visibility plugin. It is massively popular. It is, I think, getting merged into Core soon or something.
No, the icon. Well,
the icon
parts
block.
of it. And,
Sorry,
yeah,
the icon block.
We're just taking all of Nick's work.
We're just taking all of his
Core.
work. But I do think, and this is not against Nick, I do think the fact that he's in the United States and that kind of thing helps his availability. It's like when he's tweeting about things and when he's talking about things, the rest of the United States is online. I think there's some amazing innovation happening all over the world, in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, in various other countries. And I think what would be cool to see is, and this kind of gets back to like the canonical plugins concept, but just a general, like a way to showcase some of these innovations better from people around the world. That is something that I would like to see. I have seen, there was, my early days of WordPress, there was a guy who was building, it was kind of similar to AppPresser. So it was like turning your WordPress site into a mobile app situation. It was all client work, so he wasn't really making a big deal out of marketing it. But at the time, when I looked at what he was doing and what AppPresser was doing, his stuff was 10 times better. Now, he wasn't worrying about marketing it and getting into Core and all that kind of thing. That was a different conversation. But there's innovation happening everywhere. And it would be cool to see if there is a way that we could surface some of those innovations better on a more global scale, because then people can see that there's innovation happening at the plugin level, at the theme level, at whatever the case may be.
That's really cool. Like what Showcase Day does here. Because in WordCamp, the other WordCamps don't have Showcase Day.
Kind of, yes.
It'd be cool. And like last year, it was very much like, I built a thing, let's talk about it, right?
As a South African, coming to a WordCamp that has a Showcase Day was like, wow, this is really cool. Here are these people showing off what they've built, what cool stuff they've innovated with. There's no sponsors on that day, so everybody's in the talks. Well, those that are not hanging out in the hallway track. But people are going to the talks and seeing the cool stuff, and then, discovering how something is being built and then being able to speak to the developer and then take it back and implement it in there. That's something that I would recommend to all WordCamps, that they start look at doing either a showcase half day or something, because it's really cool to see those innovations come out.
And I just want to correct my, I botched up that proverb. It's, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a company. Yeah. But I like what you said. The showcase days for all the, could also be a bar camp. Yes. Yeah. And that's actually a very informal way. You don't have to register. You don't have to kind of submit things. Yeah. A bar camp section half day would be really cool. Yeah.
I will say, plugin is one place where the innovation happens. The other is there are people doing things at like a client agency level, and there's a lot of people who use WordPress and they build these huge multi-site networks for people that are in maybe different niches or something like that. And under the hood, it's WordPress, but they're not going out and selling WordPress. They're selling a solution for a target market and a niche, and the end users that spin up sites in these places probably don't know that that's what it is. Yeah. And so there's a lot of these situations of people doing things that solve that particular problem. And it doesn't seem like a wide thing, but it is. It's just everybody's doing it in their own unique way. And that's the freedom of it.
So there's a problem around, well, first of all, like a lot of client work you can't share. So like you could be doing the coolest things in the world, but you can't talk about it, right? Yeah. And then like a friend of mine, Troy, shout out to Troy, he manages like a network for Carleton University in Ottawa, and he's like I don't know, 1,000 sites on multi-site, and they're all block themes. Like the stuff he's doing, I'm like, why aren't you telling the world about this? Because I can think of basically everyone doing what you're doing is going to want to know how you did it, and so so maybe it's just more like let's get these stories told, and maybe that can be part of like developer advocacy. So okay, we're now going to transition into the next 5 questions. I don't know how much time we have left. Okay, so this one's, the title is, now let's get nerdy about AI and WordPress. So here we go. Everyone is talking AI. Are we going to see WordPress core doing stuff like auto-writing posts, optimizing SEO, or even debugging themes soon? Like real AI features, not just buzzwords?
I don't like this person.
Me neither.
Yes.
I think that's the answer.
And that's kind of like this is the what's what I'm looking for. This is the example of how far behind the LLM is. Yeah, exactly. Because we have the core AI team, we have the AI building blocks that they're working on. The PHP AI SDK is going to be hopefully eventually in core, connecting to whatever LLM you want, creating text for you, creating images, doing generative stuff for you. The MCP adapter is there for you to be able to give context to your chat, your coding tool, your whatever. If you haven't seen James and Felix and Matthias's talk yesterday about what we're building, go and find the YouTube stream, go and watch it. It's all coming. And from what I've seen, besides Laravel, which has something called Laravel Boost, I think it is, and that was developed by a single developer, and then that chap got sort of pulled into core. WordPress is the only other sort of framework or platform that is doing this really publicly and really iteratively and really rapidly. So it's really exciting to see this stuff coming. For WordPress, we've made some good solid moves there, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, but there were already plugins 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where you can pull in an image Gen AI and have new featured images, and you get 4 of them, and then you put there was the Jetpack for 2 years now has the rewrite this informal or make it more humorous or something like that, or so what we said before, plugin have already gone that route, and now classify, where you can actually connect with a local LMM platform or Llama and have it just on your host. You don't even go out to any cloud system. So it's really, WordPress is now cementing some standards in core, but the features are out there, and you just kind of grab one of those plugins and you're off to the races.
Yeah, there's some challenges in that WordPress is, you can host it on anything. You can host it anywhere, on anything, in any way. And AI is a bit subsidized right now, but it's very expensive and it requires a lot of compute. And I think I think what WordPress core is gonna do is provide the foundation and stuff, but it's gonna have to let you offload that in your own way. I think a lot of WordPress sites are gonna want their own proprietary, like they're not gonna want to connect it to the bigger LLMs. They want their own sort of sandboxed ones and stuff. So people are gonna do things in weird ways. And so I'm like a little skeptical. Like I don't think core is going to be in there writing your post for you. I think, like you said, that stuff's been there. It exists. I've been using the Jetpack write my post excerpt for me for a long time. Like all these things are there and they're being provided by the proper people. And core is just going to find a way, I think, to really focus on, okay, how do we have one system so that when I have my page builder and I have my WooCommerce and I have my like LMS and I have all these different plugins, I don't want 5 different AIs. I want one unified approach to it, but it's not going to be, something that core manages. Core just gives the APIs, and we'll start to see, I think, best practices emerge out of that too. It's just, it's just a kind of a unique situation because WordPress is so flexible and everybody's going to use it in a different way. But yeah, the stuff, like I said, it's been here. It's been around for a long time. All of these, especially the low-hanging fruit, make my images. That's there. It's been there. And as the collaboration features get better inside of the editor, right now it's collaborate. Like I think block commenting is there where I can comment on a block, you can comment on a block, and James on the AI team is already like, okay, and now I want ChatGPT to comment on the block. Like that next step is already going to happen because the primitives are there. So I feel confident.
So core is not only providing the platform to integrate with LLMs, it also provides the standard so plugins can tell LLMs what they are doing. So agents or AI agents can come in and help you with your website in whatever way you want. But that standard needs to be in WordPress because nobody else can do it for WordPress. Yeah.
I'm going to move on to the next question. What's the wildest way you've seen someone use AI in WordPress site already, and why isn't that in core, or at least a plugin? I think we've already covered the core plugin part, but like, let's tell some stories. Like, what's the craziest thing you've seen so far? If there is anything crazy, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like trying to think because again, some of this stuff you can't talk about. But I've seen people in the Woo world; they're very interested in, getting my 10 years ago was get my products into Google Shop, get my products into Facebook, TikTok, whatever. Like people own their data in their central thing and then they want to distribute it to things. I think LLMs, it's just the next step of that, which is I have my products, I have my checkout, but I want to get it into these other things. And people come to us at Woo and show us what they're working on and say, this is what I need to accomplish it. And I've seen some sort of like agentic commerce things that are just, I think, really fascinating. I think that's still such a new territory that we're not sure what that's really going to look like. And, there's definitely concerns like, who owns my credit card? Is it me? Is it ChatGPT? Is it the store owner? There's a lot of questions around it and stuff. But at the end of the day, I think it's just the next step of things that we've kind of solved already by being this, open, extensible platform. And so people are doing it, and it's starting to come together.
I had a conversation with someone earlier in the WordCamp here, and I don't know if he told me this in confidence or not, so I won't mention like the company name, but he had this idea that like everything the AI is doing right now is generating, is creating new. And what they're trying to do is use AI to diagnose like DDoS attacks and like white screen of deaths, but do it proactively and then provide via AI provide the solution to the customer. And then the next step was be like, just fix the problem. And I thought that was really interesting because we all everything's it's all generative AI. It's all stuff that we're adding or creating and putting into the world rather than using to sort of fix. It's not the wildest thing in the world, but it's an interesting way of thinking about using AI to fix what's already there and make it better rather than just make a new thing,
Yeah, I saw a similar thing. I don't know if you know XWP's Stream plugin. It's kind of like an activity monitor for your site. Like Jetpack, it'll store everything that ever happens and tell you about it. XWP has one a lot of use, and they were doing the same thing, which is I have all these sites. I have this plugin that's logging everything. Now I'm Cloudflare worker was going to pull it and put it here, and then we can send it to an AI, and I can get weekly summary to know what's happening on all my sites or diagnose things ahead of time and stuff. And like all the pieces are there, and people are doing it.
Be honest. Do you think AI is going to replace developers building WordPress sites, or will it just make us 10 times faster, or 10x faster? Is what it says.
I think it's going to create opportunity. Honestly, I think it's there's going to be a shift. Things are going to change. The way we've done things on the internet will be different. And when responsive design, when like mobile became big and responsive design came out, that was a huge payday basically for WordPress developers, because now you had to rebuild a whole bunch of sites to be mobile friendly and stuff. And I think with AI, yes, there's a lot of stuff that makes development much faster, makes things move much easier, opens up possibilities and stuff. But there's always complicated stuff that needs experts and developers. And I don't think we're going to, at least in the near future, get to a place. I think it's actually bringing people back to their websites and saying, oh, I want this, I wanted this. And I think the agencies are in the perfect position to become the experts on this now, figure it out, and start selling it. And it could be the next big thing that you do, because the mobile responsive redesign era has kind of petered out. We've solved it. So this could be the next big opportunity for developers.
Yeah, I think so too. And because you can get to a proof of concept very, very fast with the help of these coding AIs. But I have found very quickly that the debugging part is really still in its baby shoes, and I have not seen it getting better in the last 2 years or something like that. Yeah, so you definitely need to know what you're doing when you ask a fellow younger developer to put something together. Yeah, I also found that open source like WordPress is in a way better situation for any of that, because all the documentation is public, and many repos on GitHub are public. Yeah, the AI can learn from that, and you have already examples out there. If it's just everyday thing, those get really fast. But if you do something out of the ordinary, that's the place where it really screws up.
I think as well, what people sort of forget, and if we take a step out of AI and we just look at the whole thing about no code tools, right? No code building, blah, 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 whatever. At the end of the day, you still need to know what a good website looks like. Like, you can give me all the no-code tools in the world. I'm not going to build a good-looking website. I am not a designer, right? You need somebody with a designer's eye to come in and go, right, this is how it should look because this is the brand we're working with and this is what the message they're trying to convey and da-da-da-da. You can give that designer no-code tools and they're not going to have to design a whole bunch of things. They're going to be able to use those tools, but they still need to have that expertise, and it's the same for development. I've been experimenting with writing code with AI for a number of years now, and it still gets it wrong, sometimes horribly. So you still need, I was building something the other day where I built something. I essentially gave it some code and I said, I want to extend this code. And it tried 3 times before it finally got something that was working. And then I shipped the PR to GitHub Copilot to do a code review. And it did a great code review, but one of the code review items was something along the lines of, there's a problem, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And literally the line change was a space. So it was removing a space, but it gave me a whole architectural reason why we should make this code change. It's better, but it was removing a space. So even today, it's still going to, with ChatGPT 5 or whatever it is, all of the new stuff, it still gets it wrong. It still needs a human being who can think logically about it and go, no, that's wrong.
I think it makes you faster, but if you don't understand what you're doing, it's not going to help, right? Like I did a little app for my son. It's like a word matching game, right? And I didn't want to spend half a day doing all the CSS, so I just did it. I asked it for a React application, and it gave me one without a package JSON, without an index file, and it just gave me the components. And so I was like, if I didn't know how how that worked, I would be lost. So yeah, there's a lot. And then I was trying to build a Chrome extension, and I got into like error ping pong. You've ever had that where it's like you have an error and you're like, well, this is the error. Okay, I'll fix that error. And then you get another error and then it fixes that error, but then you get the first error again. And you're just like back and forth and it just keeps adding more and more code. And next thing you know, you got 6,000 lines and it's like, this is just supposed to say hello world. Like what is going on here, right? So
I think like the analogy I'll use often is like spreadsheet software. It existed, but like I could do my own taxes and I'm just not going to. I'm going to pay an expert to do it because I know that they're going to know what the best approach is, and it's going to be worth it. And I think a lot of this stuff will still, there's just going to be room for experts and it might be a certain part of the market, and you might need to move up market or refine your skill set, but that's what you're getting paid for, is to be the expert. So you're going to have to.
What developer isn't constantly learning a new skill set? And now working with AI and prompt engineering and all that stuff just becomes another, tool in the toolbox. I think we're also not sure what all this vibe code stuff is going to be like 5 years from now. Like you write something now, like how many of us here have written something and then come back to it 5 years later and be like, oh my God, what was I even thinking, right? Like, yeah, exactly. And now it's written by another brain. Like I know for me, like if I go back and embarrassingly look at some of my old code, it came out of my brain, so at least I kind of know how it's all structured, even though it's horrible, But if it's written by like a ChatGPT, for example, or whatever, I don't even know. Like I may not even be able to grok what it does at that point, right?
Well, I learn, Emma. I always learn something when I copy paste code into ChatGPT or anything. You could do that with a ChatGPT coded app and explain this to be like a 4-year-old or something.
All right, so before we wrap up here, I'm going to get ChatGPT to give us its spiciest question, and we'll go from here. Okay. Give us one more spicy question. Here we go. Absolutely.
Be careful, ChatGPT.
Okay, the bonus spicy question. If WordPress was being built today from scratch with all the tech and AI tools we have now, would it still look anything like what we have? Or are we just too sentimental to let go of the old stuff?
I don't accept the premise.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so if it were built today, it would look different as it is. Yeah, but it would not be 40% of the internet.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think you get the community, the innovation, the growth, the lessons learned along the way. You don't build the block editor in the same way, so it's a different solution. Like,
This question might have been a bit of a fail, unfortunately. It'd be called WordPress, but there'd be no E in it because it'd be JavaScript language. It'd be like WordPress.js.
Well, I think the question is like, what would be the goals if you started today? Because WordPress came out of a very specific situation, which was that it was hard to get content on the internet. And that was really hard to do. That's not hard to do anymore. There's plenty of places that will help you put your content on the internet. So the question now is, if you were starting from scratch, what would be the next thing? And so it's kind of like, I kind of disagree with the question. It's kind of hard to say, but would we do some things differently? Sure.
Well, no, we would go right back to PHP 4. We'd start there. Well, that's it for the questions generated from AI. I want to thank you guys for sitting with me and rambling on. This early in the morning. I was going to call this the Time Zones Are Hard stream or video because I thought I was booking this at noon, and it was actually noon Eastern and not local time. That's why we're here at 9 o'clock in the morning. So thank you for hanging out with me and being here.